Do you ever wonder why your mixes sound like they're missing clarity, or like there's a blanket over your speakers? Well, today, we're going to fix that with one of the most powerful tools in Pro Tools, the EQ. By the end of this video, you'll know how to shape your sound with real examples for vocals, drums, bass, and guitar. My name is Ian Dutra from ID Sound. If you need help with your project, check out my portfolio and send me an email. I'd love to work with you. Today's tool is the Avid EQ3 7-band, the built-in EQ in Pro Tools. Don't let the old graphic interface fool you. This EQ packs some serious punch. Open your project, pick the track you want to work on, and click an empty insert slot. You'll find it under Plugin, EQ, EQ7 band. When it pops up, you'll have 7 EQ bands. Think of them like 7 separate tone knobs, each controlling a different slice of your sound. Most bands have 3 settings. Frequency is which note range you're affecting, kind of like choosing which notes on a piano you want to adjust. Q is how wide or narrow your change is. A wide Q is like affecting a bunch of notes on the keyboard. A narrow Q is just like zooming in on one key. And gain is how much softer or louder you make it, like turning the volume up or down on just those notes. This is as simple an analogy as I can possibly put it, but in reality, EQ works a lot more with the tone of a frequency rather than the actual note pitch on a piano. Like the bass, middle, and treble frequencies on your car stereo, but with a lot more fine control and frequency points. On most EQs, we have 3 kinds of filters. We have sloped filters, also known as high-pass filter and low-pass filter, and they progressively reduce frequencies above or below the frequency point, as you can see here. By the way, the horizontal axis indicates the frequencies, and the vertical axis indicates how we're changing those frequencies. We also have bell filters, which affect the frequencies closer to the frequency point, and like I said earlier, the Q affects how many frequencies around are affected. And finally, we have shelf filters, which affect frequencies below or above the frequency point. This is a high shelf, and you can cut or boost with it. This is a low shelf, you can also cut or boost with it. Now let's put all that to good use. On lead vocals, cut the deep rumble below around 80 to 100 Hz, because those frequencies don't contain important information on vocals. Next, on the low mids, let's cut between 200 and 750 Hz. This case I landed at 350 Hz, because too much of this frequency range makes our voice sound like it's inside of a cardboard box. Too little of it makes it sound hollow and small. You can boost some mids between 750 and 1500 Hz to help add clarity. This one landed at right about 1000 Hz, but too much of it sounds honky, like speaking into a plastic cup. The high mids also add clarity, specifically to consonants, but too much can sound harsh. Finally, boost the high frequencies to add an airy upfront sheen to the vocals, but again, too much can sound harsh. In this case, I'm adding about 10 decibels around 8 kHz. Now let's hear how this sounds, adding in one by one. I'm going to show you in solo just so we can hear exactly what's going on, but it's advised that you make your EQ decisions in context, hearing everything else.
You know how they say don't talk to strangers. Well, I don't mind the danger. I just want to get as far away as I can.
It's a low mid cut.
I just want to find my way out of this world and be found into a place where I can be who I am. So if you wanna find me, I'll be. If you wanna find me, I'll be with a string.
Now let's EQ our drums. On kick drum, boost around 60 to 80 Hz for thump and power. Cut around 200 Hz to remove low mids, only if needed. Add between 3 to 5 kHz for more click so it cuts through. Here's before and after. On snare, roll off anything below 100 Hz so it's not stepping on the kick. Boost between 150 Hz to 200 Hz for some body. And add around 2 kHz for snap. In this case, I also rolled off some low mids and boosted some high mids for added clarity. Now let's hear those one by one. Now here's before and after. You can EQ the toms more or less in a similar manner, although I don't tend to add the high frequency boost to toms. Now for overheads, cut below 150 Hz to stop the kick and toms from muddying things up. In this case, I also have a low mid frequency cut here as well to clean it up. And if you boost around 1K to 2K, you can also add some more crack to the snare. And if you boost some high frequencies, in this case I have everything above 6 kHz, you can add some really nice shimmer to your cymbals. Let's hear before and after. Now let's hear all the drums before and after EQ. They sound much bigger and they cut through the mix a lot better as well. On bass, I like to cut below 50 Hz to make some space for the kick drum, and boost around 150 Hz to give it some more weight. And sometimes it's good to cut between 250 to 400 Hz to clear out some gunk. In this case, I also boosted some mid frequencies to give it some more definition and help it stand out in the mix. Now let's hear each one of those moves. This one's much more subtle, but it does affect the way that the bass sits into the mix. Now let's move on to the guitars. For acoustic, cut below 80 to 100 Hz to stop low and rumble. And if it sounds boomy, you can shave off a little bit between 200 and 300 Hz. In this case, my guitar sounded a little boxy, so I cut right around 600 Hz. And if you want some sparkle, you can add some 8 kHz. I also wanted some clarity, which I found to be right about 3 kHz where I wanted it. Now let's hear before and after. For electric, you can also cut below 80 Hz, and sometimes it's good to trim a little bit between 300 to 500 Hz if it sounds boomy. And you can also add some bite if you boost between 2 kHz and 5 kHz. In this case, I also have a low pass filter, cutting everything above about 7K. That's just to soften the top end a little bit. Now here's before and after. It really helps the guitar sit exactly in the spot that it needs to be. Now let's take a listen to what the whole mix sounds like before and after EQ.
You know how they say don't talk to strangers. Well, I don't want the danger. I just wanna get as far away as I can. I just wanna find my way out of this world and be found into a place where I can be who I am.
Now remember, none of these specific EQ moves I showed you are set rules. They're just general guidelines of what tends to work. But always use your ears and trust your judgment. Otherwise, there's no point in doing any mixing at all. Always adjust the balance on the volume fader before you reach for EQ. Most of the time, we're just trying to make something easier to hear, and you can get so much closer than you may think just with volume. Also, EQ while the full mix is playing. Tuning one instrument in isolation can actually make it clash with the rest of the instruments. And check your work with the bypass button to make sure your changes actually help. And remember, sometimes no EQ is the best EQ. And that's how to use EQ in Pro Tools for mixing most instruments you'll encounter. If this helped, like the video, subscribe, and tell me in the comments which instrument you wrestle with the most. Now open a session, try these moves, and hear the difference for yourself. Don't forget to check out my website and learn more about my services. Thanks for watching.